Hello and welcome to the June 9th, 2024 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick. This is brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, I am finally putting some money into this little pet project of mine, and I am enjoying doing so. We are upgrading this and that. I recently figured some things out with the camera, so hopefully we're going to start streaming properly in 1080p. It's been streaming in 720 this whole time, but I made some modifications. So hopefully we should be seeing 1080p, and if we don't, I'm going to need to get a new camera. So luckily we're Some Budget Studios now. We're on every other Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News Facebook page. That's right, we're on Facebook Meta, whatever the hell it's called this week. We are going to have our YouTube page going up probably between now and the next episode, so I am going to finally launch that, and we will be cross-platforming between YouTube and Facebook. YouTube is a great place to be able to store these videos, to do little clips and such. I'm looking forward to cross-platforming as well because I have friends, and I know there's folks that don't use Facebook at all. And we need to branch out, do things. So this is a program dedicated to bringing some good news to combat all of the bad news that we're bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back into the world. Several of our articles are pulled from goodnewsnetwork.org, but we do appreciate articles that are sent in by you, the viewers. And speaking of which, this entire episode, all 11 articles that we have tonight, are supplied by you, the viewers. Y'all sent in an amazing array of articles. It's a little back heavy in flora and fauna and wholesome notes, but that's okay. I am going to need to start making a database of articles that you send in and parsing them out. So you may not see an article that you send me on the next Nick's News, but it will air on a Nick's News down the road. So thank you all so much for sending everything in. It's amazing. And yeah. Let me look at the comments. That's right. Happy birthday to Eliza. This is the start of her birthday week. So here we are with Nick's News. I forgot to do that as a shout out. I apologize. I will add it in post. We're going to add a shout out. Yes, and our graphics department, Graphics by Ashford, has been supplying us with all our new art, our banners, all sorts of fun stuff, and it sounds like we are going to have another banner coming in for YouTube. So that will be good. And then I think the only other animation that we need to do is we're going to do... that's good news. We're going to do a new countdown page. I want to set up a new countdown page, and then maybe like a credits page where we can credit y'all for sending in articles. We can credit, the small director staff and art team that we have now for Nick's News. So, yeah, okay, we got to throw two shout outs in. We'll add it. We'll do it live. Let's get to our news brew. Our news brew for this episode is going to be 7-layer Bar Pastry Stout from Untitled Art. This is an 11% ABV brew. It's a pastry stout, so they're incredibly smooth brews. Very heavy, though. And everything from Untitled Art that I've drank has been phenomenal. They are stout kings. So I am looking forward to this. We don't need the Balisong bottle opener because we've got a can, so let's just get the best crack-a-lack we can. That was pretty good. Let me check the the Facebook page right now to see if we're streaming. Okay, it's now saying max resolution is 1080p, and our video resolution should be streaming in 1080p now. Do I look any better than normal? Maybe I'm a little vain asking that, but We've got our Harpoon limited edition snifter because I absolutely love this glass. The theatrics of a 5-minute pour. I want every drop. Oh! This beer is great. Oh my. Hello, everybody that's tuning in. Ooh, strawberry tres leche cake. That sounds fantastic. So, I go back and I log every beer. So, I use an app called Untapped. Untappd. If you want to find me on there and see everything that I've drank from now back to 2015, you can. I'm Godzilla 2K4. It's my gamer tag for everything. So I go back and I log those beers, and it's really easy to see which ones were Nick's News beers, because usually I'm logging them at late on Sunday night, and I never have a picture to take of them. I take pictures of all my beers too, because I'm weird like that. So I don't take pictures of them because I've already drank them, so I don't have anything to show. So it's easy to go back through my logs and find my Nick's News beers and what I gave them. Still fuzzy. Still fuzzy around the edges. Interesting. Still fuzzy. Interesting. But it is saying that we should be up to 1080p now. So I might just have to muck with it a little bit more. We'll find out. So, let's get into shout-outs. So, as usual, we're shouting out Fox Hen Winery in Grand Haven, Michigan. Seriously, if you find yourself in West Michigan and you really want a fine glass of wine on a Friday or Saturday afternoon, go find Fox Hen Winery. It is phenomenal. Their ciders are great. Their specials are crazy. Their last one was a Faygo mixed with wine. I mean, it was so sweet. I probably got, inched closer to diabetes, but oh my gosh, was it an amazing combination that I never would have thought of. So, Fox Hen Winery, go check them out. We don't have at some point, shout-outs is going to get replaced with sponsors, I'm sure. If I keep doing this and keep growing it. Nah, we won't do that. We'll have shout-outs and sponsors probably. So, second shout-out, and this is one of our live shout-outs, Eliza's birthday. Eliza's a Nick's Newsie that has been watching Nick's News and been with us for a while. So, Eliza, happy birthday. Cheers. Ooh. That's a good beer. That is a damn good beer. Second shout out, another live shout out, and I'll have to add these in post to the list that shows up on like the descriptors for our videos. Did I skip the quote again? No, I didn't. I almost skipped the quote again. I thought I did. Second shout out is to Sean. Sean has had a legal battle going on for years. It's a lawsuit. Somebody was a very bad driver and hit Sean. And so it looks like Sean's lawsuit has been settled. And fantastic. I am so happy for you, Sean, that you can close the door on that part of your life and get to move on and ride well. And 6 years! That was going on for 6 years. So it tells you lawsuits don't end in a day. But yeah, Sean, congratulations. And I'm so happy that your lawsuit has finally settled. Cheers. Fair. So we skipped the quote last week, and I kind of didn't realize it until like a day after, and I asked Donna, who's our producer, I was like, Donna, did I skip the quote? And she comes back, because I wasn't able to watch the video, and she comes back to me and goes, yeah, you didn't read the quote. So I'm like, crap. And we're like, we'll just move it to the next week. So I had this quote lined up. I like this quote. And it goes something like this. Never say no to adventures. Always say yes. Otherwise, you'll lead a very dull life. And that is from Ian Lancaster Fleming. who's better known as the British author and journalist who created the James Bond series of spy novels. Ian Fleming gave us the joy of James Bond and so many other publications. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, that quote kind of rung true because it's kind of like sometimes it's tough. There's things that will get in the way of trying to live like that and living the life of adventure. So when you can, never say no to adventures. Always say yes. Otherwise, you'll lead a very dull life. Thank you, Ian Fleming. Cheers. And that is exactly true. Adventures do not need to be big or expensive. You can have an adventure in your backyard. You can have an adventure in the safety and comfort of your own home. You can have an adventure near or far. Whatever it is, just don't say no to it. So, I like that. Bug update. It's silent. Andy made a second egg sac, but we know that Annie is unmated, so sadly we're not going to get any children out of that. She's hiding somewhere in the tank right now, but I believe she's still with us because I keep finding fresh web here and there in the tank. So I'm not sure where she's at right now, but I know she's in there. The beetles are good. The roaches are lazing about. All is well in the bug world. I really need to shake things up. Did I find the missing spider? I have not yet, but I know she's in there, and I'm 98% sure she's still alive. She did the same thing when she laid her first egg sac. She just disappeared for a bit. I think she's hiding back behind one of the pieces of climbing wood that's in there, some of the climbing medium, but I don't want to poke around because I don't want to disturb her since she's so old. But yeah, she'll come out eventually. So with that, let's get into our good news. Bigger spiders. Let's get into our good news. Our broadcast is broken up into 4 major categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, and we end on the wholesome notes. Oh, flora and fauna is aka plants and animals. And we end on the wholesome notes, those really nice touchy-feely articles. Sean, that's horrible. And again, every single article tonight was sent in by you, the viewers. Y'all flooded my inbox with suggestions, and they were good suggestions. So, let's get into this. We're going to get into Category 1, Science and Technology. I called this first one Bacteria versus Greenhouse Gas, and this was sent in by Cassidy. So, Cassidy, thank you so much. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. I don't know why people are... messaging me in the middle of my broadcast. But I will copy and paste this into the chat for y'all to read along. Researchers find a tiny organism that has power to reduce a persistent greenhouse gas in farm fields. In the world of greenhouse gas emissions, carbon dioxide gets most of the blame, but tiny organisms that flourish in the world's farm fields emit a far more potent gas, nitrous oxide, and scientists have long sought a way to address it. Some researchers think they've found a bacteria that can help. Writing in this week's Nature, they say extensive lab and field trials showed the naturally derived bacteria reduce nitrous oxide without disrupting other microbes in the soil. It also survived well in soil and would be relatively cheap to produce. Funny bug farts. I think that the avenue that we have opened here, it opens up for a number of new possibilities in bioengineering of the farmed soil, says Lars Bakken, a professor at the Norwegian University of Life Sciences and one of the authors of this study. A pound of nitrous oxide, better known as laughing gas, the stuff that relaxes people in the dentist chair, can warm the atmosphere 265 times more than a pound of carbon dioxide, and it can persist in the atmosphere for more than a century. Farmers' heavy use of nitrogen fertilizer drives up the amount produced in soil, and in 2022, it accounted for 6% of all the U.S. greenhouse gas emissions from human activities, according to the Environmental Protection Agency. Reducing fertilizer use can help, but crop yields would eventually fall. And given that our population just keeps going up and up, we really can't skimp on farming right now. That's the Zoomies gas, ain't it? Nitrous, I remember the only time I've ever had nitrous was when I had my one wisdom tooth removed, and it was interesting. It threw me for a little bit of a loop, but it was interesting. That's a big problem in agriculture, so the fact that they have developed a unique strategy to reduce it pretty dramatically was really interesting, said Lori Hogland, a professor of soil microbial ecology at Purdue University who was not involved in the study. Bakken and his colleagues used organic waste to grow their bacteria, reasoning that many farmers already apply processed manure-based fertilizers, so it could be easily integrated into their routines. Building on past work, they searched for a microorganism that would last long enough to make a real dent in nitrous oxide emissions without staying in the soil so long that it disrupted other tiny life forms that are often vital for crop health. In field trials, they used roving robots to measure nitrous oxide emissions day and night, comparing conditions in soil with and without the bacteria. They found the bacteria reduced the nitrous oxide emissions of an initial fertilizer application by 94%. And a couple weeks later dropped the emissions of a subsequent fertilizer application by about half. After about 3 months, there was no difference in the makeup of microbial life forms, suggesting their bacteria would not disrupt the soil. The bacteria they settled on, Cloacibacterium species CB01, is found naturally in anaerobic digesters, machines that are already being used to transform organic waste products into cow manure, or like cow manure, into biofuel. The fact that the bacteria is not genetically modified might ease its acceptance and adoption, said Paul Carini, a soil microbiologist at the University of Arizona who was not involved in the research. This is why GMOs are important, kids. GMOs are your friend. Coffee grounds for extra nitrogen in my plants. That's interesting. Bakken said the bacteria could be included in certain fertilizers on farms as soon as 3 to 4 years from now if the economics make sense. Carini thinks they do. Anytime you're using a waste product from one industry to benefit another industry, that's pretty cost effective, he said. However, Bakken pointed out that farmers aren't paid for reducing nitrous oxide emissions, and he thinks there have to be more incentives to do so. The task for the authorities is to install policy instruments that make it profitable in one way or another, he said. Hoagland, the Purdue professor, said more research in field conditions would likely be needed before the bacteria could be deployed worldwide, as there are many different types of farm soils. If they can get this to work across soils and things, it would just have a tremendous impact for sure, she said. It's a challenge that has long vexed academics as well as major agricultural companies that have tried to develop organisms that can be added to the soil for beneficial effect, Carini said. He said there were many inquiries in this direction, and they've been spotty, whereas this one had clearer results. Like Hoagland, he said more work is needed to prove the bacteria's effectiveness, but he called the work a blueprint for selecting beneficial organisms that can be added to soil. I think this is the next frontier in soil agriculture research, he said. That is fantastic. Hi, Desiree. So, to Cassidy for sending in that article, and to everybody involved in this study, trying to find bacteria to reduce greenhouse gas. Cheers. And Cassidy also threw in our next one for science and technology. I called this Need a Home? 3D Print It. So Cassidy, thank you very much for this one. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Flintstone-style structure becomes first legally habitable home with 3D printed walls. Take a look inside this unique house. What do the Flintstones and the future of home building have in common? A lot more than you might think. In Eindhoven, Netherlands, a one-of-a-kind boulder-shaped home has become the first legally habitable house in Europe with load-bearing walls built entirely by a 3D printer, according to tinyhousetown.net. This groundbreaking home is from Project Milestone, a collaboration between Eindhoven University of Technology, St. Gobain Weber Beemix, Witteveen and Boss, and Van Wienen. There's way too many Netherlands names in that sentence. Gotta watch out for Van Wienen. By harnessing the power of 3D printing, they've created a bungalow that not only looks like something out of a cartoon, but also offers a glimpse into a greener, more sustainable future of construction. So how did they do it? The secret lies in a gigantic robotic arm equipped with a specialized concrete nozzle. I think we've reported on these before, but dang, this is funny they built a whole ass house out of it finally. The innovative technique allowed the architect's vision to be translated into layers of concrete printed directly on site, creating complex shapes without the need for traditional formwork. The result? Faster construction times and the ability to simultaneously create reinforcement and openings, all while the printer worked around the clock. The benefits don't stop there. The 3D printed walls showcase a unique pattern that highlights the layers of concrete and the areas where the nozzle head was swapped out during the printing process. Thanks to the high-quality materials used, the developers expect... Let me close that. There we go. The developers expect this home to last for over 50 years. This is great news as people seek more resilient homes since the warming of our planet is causing extreme weather conditions to become more frequent. I don't think, since I've moved to Michigan in 1996, I've ever heard the tornado siren go off as much as it has this year. And it's only June. So, extreme weather? Yeah. While there were some construction delays due to the challenging design elements, the result is a testament to the power of innovation. The home's 24 sections were factory printed in just 120 hours, with the largest section weighing 12 tons and standing at over 8 feet tall, or 2.5 meters for folks that don't have never landed people on the moon. After being transported to the site, the sections were assembled on a foundation, and the finishing touches, like windows, doors, and the roof, were added on site. It's not just about the cool factor. This 3D printed home boasts an impressive energy performance coefficient of 0.25, demonstrating high energy efficiency. By exploring alternative materials and reducing the amount of concrete used, the developers believe they can further minimize the home's carbon footprint. It's a win-win for both the residents and the environment. If you remember from last Nick's News, we had an article about zero-emission cement that could be worked back into concrete, so there's a lot of savings potentials here with greenhouse gas emissions. Project Milestone has plans for 4 additional houses, each designed to push the boundaries of 3D printing and construction even further. The final dwelling will be a 3-story, 3-bedroom family home that aims to be printed on site. The future of home building is here, and it's looking bolder than ever. With 3D printing leading the charge, we can look forward to more sustainable, efficient, and downright cool homes that blend creativity and functionality. That's pretty slick. To Cassidy and to Project Milestone for printing homes. Cheers. The weather control device is not responsible for global warming, Sean. Let me make that clear. So that kicks us out of science and technology, gets us into category 2, health and medicine. We've got one article in health and medicine, and it was sent in by Charlie. Charlie, thank you so much. And I called this one a helping headset. And I will copy and paste this in the chat if y'all want to read along. Orlando teen invents device with potential to help 2.2 billion with a B people. At age 16, most kids are thinking about getting their driver's license or making TikToks, except for Tiffany Gay, who is focused on changing the world with her award-winning invention. Sucks to be that train. By combining two technologies used in everyday life, Gay is striving to get results for the over 2.2 billion people worldwide with visual impairments. The Orlando Science School sophomore joined Matt Austin and Ginger Gadsden on Florida's Fourth Estate to explain the story and the science behind an electronic headset that she created. This idea stemmed from an experience with a family friend who had a visual impairment, Gay said. From there, she came up with a design and developed a series of prototypes. Similar to safety technology used in cars, Gay's electronic visor is lined with LiDAR that can detect when objects are close or far away from the user. The sensors are replicating human vision, she said. The device then uses haptic feedback, like tactile vibrations on your smartphone, around the brim of the headset. So if someone is getting close to an obstacle, it will start to vibrate in that region of their head, Gay said. It may seem like a simple idea, but Gay's invention has landed her a box full of national and international awards. As a middle schooler, she earned the Lockheed Martin Science Challenge. Yes! Won first place at the State Science and Engineering Fair of Florida, then placed at the International Science and Engineering Fair, or ISEF, before coming in first at the Taiwan International Science Fair. If that wasn't enough, she also plays the violin, volunteers at ORMC, and is vice president of her high school's Future Business Leaders of America Club. But for Gay, it's not about the accolades. What I'm doing here is helping solve a global problem. What I'm doing is not trying to brag and get awards so I can show off. So these awards mean a lot to me. They are a motivating factor, but they definitely don't define my success, she said. So how does someone so young accomplish so much? Gay points to her mom and dad. I have to give credit to my parents, both of them, for always pushing me to try my best in every single thing I do and put my best foot forward in every single thing I do, she said. As for her headset prototype, Gay said she's working with a lawyer to secure a patent and eventually introduce her medical device to the public marketplace for a price under $200, which would be great. You can learn more about Gay on Florida's Fourth Estate, including Gadsden's personal connection to her invention. You can download a podcast from wherever you listen to podcasts, or watch Florida's Fourth Estate anytime on News 6. That is really cool. A visual, so from the picture of it, it's just like a headband, like a visor headband, and it's just a series of LiDAR sensors. So it's giving a person who's wearing it 360 degrees of tactile sense for proximity, which is really neat. That's really cool. To Tiffany Gay and to Charlie for sending in this article. Cheers. Okay, now we're getting into the bulk of everything y'all sent in, and it's mostly flora and fauna and wholesome notes, and a lot of these double dip between flora and fauna and wholesome notes, so get ready. I'm not crying, you're crying. These are some good ones. So we'll hop out of health and medicine, we'll hop into category 3, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. Here we go. I called this first one Homeward Bound because when I was growing up as a kid, that was probably my favorite movie of all time, was Homeward Bound with Shadow, Chance, and Sassy. Just two dogs and a cat trying to get home. So I'm going to copy and paste this in the chat if y'all want to read along. If you haven't seen Homeward Bound, rent it. Stream it, whatever you got to do. Aw. And this article was sent in by Eliza. Eliza, thank you very much for sending in this one. A California dog missing since last summer is found in Michigan. A dog missing in California since the summer turned up more than 2,000 miles away in suburban Detroit. Police in Harper Woods responded to a call about a stray dog last week, picked up the terrier mix, and contacted an animal welfare group. The Grosse Pointe Animal Adoption Society said it quickly discovered that the dog, named Mishka, had an identity chip implanted in her with information about her owners. Murad Homan, that sounds like human, or it seems like it's supposed to be pronounced human. Like maybe he's an alien that's just very thinly disguised. Murad Homan and his family live in San Diego, but were planning to travel to Minnesota when the call came in. He landed there and then drove 10 hours to Michigan for a reunion with Mishka, the adoption group said on a Facebook post with pictures and video. This is a tale that Hollywood would love to tell, the group said. Mishka had wandered away from Homan's workplace, an auto garage, in July and never returned. Her collar had the family's phone number. We think it was stolen and then it was sold and ended up in Michigan, said Corrine Martin, director of the Animal Welfare Group. Homan's wife, Elizabeth, said it's been an incredible journey. I never gave up, she said Thursday. I put up over 1,000 flyers. I had a flyer on my back windshield. I wore her leash whenever I would look for her. Now, I wore her leash? Anybody else reading that the way I just did? and wondering for a moment, like, wait, what? Oh. Now I just want to find out how she got to Michigan. Veterinarian Nancy Pillsbury examined 3-year-old Mishka, gave her a rabies shot, and cleared her to travel home to California. She was clean, well-fed. Whoever had her took good care of her, Pillsbury told the Associated Press. How she got here? That's a story only Mishka knows. No kink. No. We don't kink shame here. There's no kink shaming. I'm not kink. I'm just curious as I read that line again. But that is fantastic. Eliza, thank you very much for sending this one in. And to the folks who found Mishka in Detroit, Michigan, and got Mishka back to her family. Cheers. Charlie sent in this next one. I called it John Ball Zoo's New Family. And I will copy and paste this into the chat. Thank you, Charlie, for sending this one in. It's going to be raining cats and dogs in our next news. 3 kits born to John Ball Zoo's lynxes. John Ball Zoo has 3 new additions after 2 of its lynxes welcomed 3 kits last week. Becca, a 3-year-old lynx who came to the zoo in 2023, welcomed the 3 kits with 11-year-old Thor on May 23rd. The zoo said the birth went smoothly, and Becca and the kits are being cared for behind the scenes at the zoo. Our animal care team is closely monitoring Becca and her kits as she cares for her litter during her first few weeks of life, Jamie Ricala, animal care supervisor at John Ball Zoo, said in a release. So far, Becca has been an extremely attentive and natural mom, and we are so excited to welcome these precious babies to the John Ball Zoo family. There are lots of pictures. They are adorable. And you can see their murder mittens. Newborn lynxes typically do not open their eyes until they are about 2 weeks old and do not become active outside of their den until they're about 5 weeks old, the zoo said. Becca and Thor are a matched breeding pair through the Species Survival Program by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, the zoo said. The breeding, pregnancy, and labor were closely monitored by zoo staff. The lynx is a federally threatened species in the U.S., the zoo added. That is really cool. They have the biggest murder mittens. So, Charlie, thank you very much for sending that one in, and to Becca and Thor, bringing 3 new little lynxes into the world. Cheers. Well, the hits are going to keep on rolling. This next one came from Eliza. Eliza sent in another good one. Here we go. I called it Kudos to Kuno. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Kudos to Kuno. Canine has a knack for finding missing kids. The missing 3-year-old boy left a faint footprint when he pushed through a screen at his grandma's house in Michigan, climbed out of the window, and took off to explore the great outdoors wearing only a diaper. Deputy Eric Calhoun, a canine handler with the Van Buren County Sheriff's Department, spotted the barely visible footprint in the dried mud near the home in Geneva Township. His canine partner, Kuno, was able to pick up the toddler's scent from the footprint and followed it into the nearby woods. Calhoun's body cam was rolling as Kuno tracked the boy's scent for a quarter of a mile through the woods before they stopped in their tracks. Kuno had done it again. His 5th recovery of a missing child. "Hey, buddy!" an overjoyed state trooper who ran alongside them can be heard saying in the video. "I want my mommy," the crying child answered. You can watch the video. It's provided there about when they found this missing kid. Oh my gosh. Kuno is best boy. "I've never heard of a canine recovering multiple kids throughout his career," said Van Buren County Sheriff Daniel Abbott, who has been with the department for 32 years. This is a deputy who, on his days off, sets up training with other agencies so he can stay on point with his dog. His goal is to have the #1 dog in the state of Michigan. That is the drive he has. The dog has that drive too. The sheriff, who was on the scene with the frantic family, was especially concerned because of all the water in the area. Ponds, streams, a large lake, and knew they had to find the child quickly. "That was our biggest fear right from the get-go," Abbott said. "It was just gut-wrenching. Where they recovered this little child, you're talking 2-3 minutes later, and we may have had a different result." In addition to a large search party, the sheriff wanted drones in the air, and Calhoun and Kuno, a 7-year veteran of the canine unit, on the ground. Kuno, an 8-year-old Belgian Malinois with a knack for finding missing kids, lives with Calhoun's family and goes to work with him every day. It was Calhoun's day off, but canine units are on call 24/7. Calhoun snapped on Kuno's tracking harness, and the inseparable pair headed to the scene 10 miles away, starting at the point where the boy had climbed out of the window. After spotting the footprint near the home, Calhoun and Kuno tracked the child not far from the water. Fortunately, the little boy did not reach the water and only had minor scratches. His family was overjoyed. And there is a picture of the footprint that Kuno used as a scent source to track this kid, and it is nothing. Somehow, the officer and the dog found this thing, and... Oh, is it Malinois? Oh, my bad. Thank you, Sean. Last year, Kuno found a missing child with autism. Children on the autism spectrum can be prone to wandering and are often attracted to bodies of water, sometimes with deadly consequences. During the search, Kuno led Calhoun to a pond where they found the child's blanket floating in the water. His heart sank. But Kuno kept pulling him away from the water in another direction, where he eventually found the child safe and sound. The other 3 children Kuno found were also unharmed, one found in a muddy field and the other 2 huddled under a blanket down in a ravine after running away from their trailer park and getting lost. Calhoun began training Kuno, his first canine partner, when he was 1.5 years old. He works with him on his days off, and they do an 8-hour training stint once a week. Kuno is also cross-trained to search for illicit drugs and suspects. Kuno was seriously injured in the line of duty 2 years ago while trying to collar a suspect wanted on a domestic charge who was hiding in a crawl space. Kuno was stabbed 3 times in the chest, and nose and neck. After a few weeks of surgery and treatment, though, he was back on the job. So what is it about Kuno? Honestly, he's just one of the goofiest dogs you'll ever meet, said Calhoun. He's just one of those dogs who you can take to a school, and he lets all the kids pet him and rub his belly. He loves having his belly rubbed, but when we get the call, he puts on his game face and goes to work. Alas, Kuno is nearing retirement, which will be bittersweet for Calhoun. Later this month, Kuno will become a full-time pet for Calhoun's 3 kids and get some well-deserved R&R. Not everyone embraces retirement, however, not even dogs. Calhoun plans to continue taking Kuno into the sheriff's office with him from time to time. He'll soon have a new canine partner and will make sure Kuno doesn't get jealous and always feels loved. If another child goes missing, Calhoun has no doubt that Kuno will happily take a break from retirement. I don't think I'll ever have a dog as good as him, Calhoun said. He kinda sets the bar. He loves to work. I have watched some videos of these dogs in action of the Malinois, just and the things they do, and it's bonkers to me. I'm not surprised that this one has managed to rescue 5 kids. That is crazy. To Officer Calhoun, to Kuno, and to Eliza for sending that one in. Cheers. Eliza sent this one in as well. Again, the hits keep on rolling. I called this one the Spectacular 7. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Fur missile. Maligator. She took in 7 dogs who survived abuse and have disabilities. Now they're helping to inspire others. If you walk around Huntington Beach, California, you may spot a woman holding 5 leashes with one hand and pulling a wagon with the other. A closer look will show she has 7 dogs with her, and none of them are walking on all 4 legs. Her name is Debbie Pearl, and all of her dogs have disabilities and use wheelchairs or prosthetic limbs. There is no doubt Pearl is a dog lover. She trains them for movies and said she has always had quite a few of her own dogs at home. In 2005, she created a nonprofit called Dream Fetchers, which helps rescue dogs from the streets and from euthanasia. As part of the organization's mission, members of Pearl's personal pack work as therapy dogs. About 9 years ago, she adopted her first dog with a disability, Fast Eddie. Eddie was definitely an inspiration for adopting other disabled dogs, Pearl told CBS News. He was so full of life. He never let anything slow him down. I mean, he truly was what you would say the word unstoppable encompasses. She said Eddie was left on the streets of California with a spinal injury. She found him the same way she finds most of her dogs. A shelter reached out to her to see if she was interested in adopting him. After we rescued Eddie, I was contacted about another dog that was in Mexico because somebody who knew me saw this dog and thought I might be interested, she said. And of course, when I saw him, it was love at first sight. There is a picture of Fast Eddie fetching a ball with his wheelchair on, and it's adorable. Fast Eddie. From there, they just started coming. People just started reaching out. The word got out that I was a really great home. I love disabled dogs, and one after the other started to come, she laughed. Pearl said she is selective when it comes to adopting dogs because they all become her therapy dogs, a group she calls the Unstoppable Dogs. The pack, Zeke, Poppy, Speedy, Eddie, Stevie, Elliot, and Sydney are all survivors of abuse. Most of her dogs use special wheelchairs that hook onto their hind legs to help them move. Elliot and Sydney use prosthetics that attach to their limbs. Since both of them are still learning how to walk with the new devices, Pearl pulls them in a wagon while she walks the other dogs. About once a week, she gathers up her crew and takes them to hospitals, schools, or the Easter Seals, a nonprofit that helps adults with disabilities. I look for dogs that have been through traumatic events, but that have this amazing gift of forgiveness, Pearl said. And that's a powerful thing for a lot of people because they can see the courage, the resilience that the dogs have. And all of mine have been through the worst, and they've come out shining. Pearl and her dogs are not only known around Huntington Beach, but around the world. Her Unstoppable Dogs Instagram page has 137,000 followers. She said a lot of their social media followers are the people they visit for therapy and have disabilities as well, and they can relate to the dogs and their joy. All of those dogs are extremely resilient for sure, but one dog definitely stands out above all the rest of that, and that dog, I think, is Elliot. Elliot is a victim of extreme abuse. He lost all 4 of his legs at the hands of humans, and he has now got 4 prosthetic legs. And this is a dog that never walked for a year of his life, and now he's relearning to walk again. Pearl said to her, Elliot exemplifies courage and resilience. CBS News went on a walk with Pearl and her dogs, and each one was more excited than the next to get outside, get hooked to their wheelchairs, and get to running. She walked them from her home to a nearby park where they were unleashed. Literally. Once she took the leashes off the dogs in wheelchairs, there was no stopping them from running around together. She says all her dogs are here because they've gotten a second chance at life, and for the other survivors of abuse or those with disabilities, that can be a powerful thing to see. Even though they may be in a wheelchair, even though they may be missing a limb, they're making the best of their life, even despite what has happened. So they just go on living, and they live their life to the fullest, she said. And I think that says a lot that hopefully others can take from that, because it doesn't matter maybe what has happened to you in the past or what you're dealing with at this moment. Live, because you can live a great life and be happy. I'm not crying, you're crying. Wow. To Debbie Pearl and her unstoppable dogs, Zeke, Pop, Speedy, Eddie, Stevie, Elliot, and Sydney. And to Eliza for sending in that article. Cheers. We don't deserve dogs. Okay, so that gets us out of flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, gets us into category 4, the wholesome notes. The hits don't stop coming. Some of these are a little more verbose. We'll get through them. But others are just going to tug at your heartstrings, and it's all good. So our first wholesome note comes from Charlie. Charlie, thank you very much for sending this one in. I called it Overcoming Adversity. I'll copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Overcoming adversity. Homeless high school student graduates as valedictorian of his class. Teenager Elijah Hogan reportedly spent his entire senior year living at the Covenant House, New Orleans, a nonprofit shelter and community for homeless youth. Against all odds, he graduated and was crowned valedictorian of his class. Elijah Hogan was just 8 years old when he lost his mother, and has spent the last year and a half in the New Orleans Covenant House Youth Homeless Shelter, according to WDSU News. And despite the obstacles and adversity that comes with being in that living situation, Hogan wanted to set a positive example for all the other youth experiencing similar situations. This goes out to all African American children, teens included, he told WDSU's Shay O'Connor. Despite where you are or the area you are in, even though it may look bad and down, there are moments where there will be people who will give you a guiding hand to help get you through. So take that opportunity. Hogan reportedly graduated from Walter L. Cohen High School with a nearly perfect 3.89 grade point average and had many to thank for his accomplishment, including the Covenant House. Without their help, I wouldn't have been where I am, he told WDSU. The other is my family members. Despite them being out of state, I still have connections with them. As for future aspirations, Hogan has reportedly accepted a full-ride scholarship to attend Xavier University in Ohio this fall and plans to study graphic design. Covenant House New Orleans congratulated him in a post on their social media, saying, "We're so proud of you." So to Elijah Hogan and to Charlie for sending in that article, congratulations and cheers. I call this next one Slicing Bills with Solar. This one was sent in by Eliza. Thank you very much, Eliza, for this one. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Federal funds to help Michigan school adopt solar power and save millions of dollars. A grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture will help a small rural school district in southwest Michigan save millions of dollars to put back into local public education. Having several teachers in my family, this is very important, is finding new ways to be able to fund public schools and make sure they're able to properly use their dollars. So, about 3 years ago, Adam Shaler stopped receiving electric bills at his family-owned die-cast company in southwest Michigan. Nowadays, they send him checks. Shaler, the owner of Lakeshore Die-Cast in Barada, said he was able to flip the script on his utility provider after he installed 2 large solar arrays outside his shop, effectively turning his net energy usage into a surplus that he now sells back to his local power company for profit. It's an arrangement that has allowed Shaler to completely break free from his monthly utility bill, and in doing so, phase out one of the largest fixed costs attached to his small business, which molds metal parts for the automotive, medical, construction, and aerospace industries. It has also given his company an edge over their competition, translated to higher wages for his employees, and ultimately helped his business to keep growing, Shaler told The Gander. And this summer, with federal grant funding and other tax incentives provided through President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, Shaler is turning his attention towards his alma mater and trying to help Bridgman Public Schools install some new solar panels of its own, slash its electricity bill, and in the process, save millions of dollars to put back into local public education. I was saving myself so much money doing these solar projects, so I wanted to take what I've learned and try to help out the local community with it, Shaler explained. If everything goes to plan, I'm just going to build this solar array for the district and give it to them. Last year, for a robotics competition, a group of 5th and 6th graders at Bridgman Elementary School came up with a plan to convert the district to renewable energy, namely by installing a new solar array somewhere near the middle school and harnessing the power of the sun. Superintendent Shane Peters said the students won a statewide award for their concept and were subsequently invited to pitch their plan to the district's Board of Education. Any opportunity to save cash, particularly at a small rural district, was something worth considering, Peters said. They really did a great job presenting, and the board was actually interested because it offered significant savings over time for their general fund, Peters explained. So now we're considering pursuing this option. With this federal grant, it's all really just one step closer to reality. Sean, thank you very much for tuning in with us. Have a great night. This summer, Peters said the district plans to accept bids from contractors interested in installing the solar array for the district and curbing its electricity costs, to the tune of about $3 million in savings over the next 25 years, according to initial estimates from district officials. And after receiving a $250,000 grant last year from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Energy for America program to put the plan into motion, Shaler, so far, is the first and perhaps the only person in town lining up to help the school district get the job done. As the time goes on, the cost of stuff just goes up. The same is true with electricity, Shaler said. If you spend money now, you can save money in the future. I brought solar to my business for my own reasons, and I think this is something that can be really good for the community too. The article goes on to say that there's a plan being put together by Shaler and by these kids to bring this solar array up and running, especially with cutting the cost of it thanks to the grants afforded. Yeah. It's really a great building block to see that both community members and children can come together with out-of-the-box ideas to give back, and it's pretty bonkers to me, so I really like that one. Eliza, thank you very much for sending that one in. To everybody in Bridgman, looking forward to this. Cheers. Charlie sent in this one. I call it Not All Heroes Wear Capes. Before we get into it, it does deal with the matter of school meal debt. I am not a fan of school meal debt. I don't understand why children are incurring debt, how that whole thing works, but this kid stepped up. And yeah, not all heroes wear capes. So Charlie, thanks for sending this in. I'll copy and paste this into the chat if you all want to read along. Fifth grader raised enough money to pay off his school's meal debt. Kids can now eat without breaking the piggy bank, at least at Thomas Ultican Elementary School, thanks to fifth grader Dakin Kramer. Dakin paid off the entire meal debt and then some for his elementary school in Blue Springs, Missouri, after turning in a check for more than $7,300. Dakin's original goal was $3,500, which was just over the total of the school's debt, according to Dakin's mother, Vanessa Kramer. The remaining amount was given to Blue Springs High School, another school in the district. Children in elementary school should not have debt tied to their name. We have found that there are high schools that keep seniors from attending prom or walking at graduation if they have stuff like student lunch debt, Kramer said. Some families can't help it. They can't pay it off. In a video shared to his mom's Facebook, Dakin had challenged friends, family, and local businesses to donate what they can to this cause. Upon Dakin's request, Kramer reached out to Blue Springs School District to get information about the school's meal debt. Soon, the online fundraiser was spreading to states like Texas, Florida, and New Jersey. Within a matter of 2 weeks, Dakin's fundraiser more than doubled his goal. As of Dakin's 5th grade graduation on Tuesday, the Dakin Kramer Legacy Award will now be an annual honor for 5th graders striving to make their own mark. Your selfless actions will impact dozens of students throughout this district, Christy Haley, Dakin's teacher, said as she announced the award in his name. It's not the amount of money you raised, although that was absolutely incredible. It's your heart, your drive, your determination, and your grit to help others that inspires us. Dakin said the award took him aback. It was definitely a surprise. I had no idea they were going to do that, he said, and I definitely started to feel a lot of emotions. A lunch for an elementary schooler in the Blue Springs School District is $2.55, with a reduced price being 40 cents for students in need, according to the district. About 29% of the roughly 15,000 students enrolled in the Blue Springs School District are eligible for a free or reduced lunch, district spokesperson Katie Wolf told CNN Thursday. While Dakin's fundraiser cleared his school's meal debt, the Blue Springs School District meal debt totals to more than $235,000, according to Wolf. The district includes 20 schools at varying levels. The dystopian nightmare. Exactly. It's a beautiful article, and when Charlie and I were talking about this article, we both came to the same conclusion that lunch debt and debt in general that children are paying off is unexcusable. It should not be the norm. It should not be anything that happens ever or has to happen. This child went above and beyond, which is why we're doing this article. But I will preface it with, I don't think he should have had to. I don't think any child should have to. So, The School Nutrition Association reported among the school districts represented by their members, about 1/5 of U.S. school districts nationwide, meal debt ranged from $10 to approximately $1 million, according to the school nutrition directors who are members of the organization and who responded to the association's 2024 survey. The association collected this data as part of their lobbying effort to try to get more funding for school meal programs. In November of 2023, the median reported district meal debt was about $5,495 among districts represented by members who responded to the survey, which was up from about $5,164 in the survey a year prior, according to the association. Hoping to bring wider attention to the issue of school meal debt, Kramer says she and Dakin are now working with a Missouri state representative to see if they can take their efforts to the next level. Seeing the droves of people who reached out with support showed Kramer how one person can make a difference, she said. Even though this is something that kids don't need to worry about and don't have any responsibility for, I'm very, very proud as his mom that he is mature enough to see that there is an issue, and if the people who have the power to make a change won't change anything, then he will step up and make a change, she said. Dakin, whose favorite school lunch is an orange chicken and rice bowl, says kids don't have to do extraordinary things to be the next recipient of the Dakin Kramer Legacy Award. They don't really need to do anything big to get the award, Dakin said. It's only if they really care about it and they are really, really compassionate about helping the school. You're not crying. Or I'm not crying. You're not crying. I'm crying. Charlie, thank you very much for sending that article in. And to Dakin Kramer, not all heroes wear capes, but you are definitely a hero. Cheers. Our last article for the night was sent in by both Charlie and Cassidy. So I thank you both so much for sending this article in together. This one is an absolute beauty. I called it 75 Years of Adventure. And I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Married since 1949, Grand Rapids couple marks 75 years of adventure. What's the secret to a long-lasting, loving marriage? One Grand Rapids couple says the answer just might be cherry Coke. Married on May 27th, 1949, Charmaine and Wayne Vickers celebrated their 75th wedding anniversary this Memorial Day. Reaching the 75th diamond anniversary is so rare that the U.S. Census Bureau doesn't even keep statistics on how many couples reach that milestone. But the federal agency notes only 1% of married couples reach their 60th anniversary. Wayne, 98, started dating Charmaine, 95, after he returned from serving in the Navy during the tail end of World War II. When he came home, he took a fancy to the cute girl behind the soda fountain counter at Keller Drug Store on Eastern Avenue. We lived about 3 blocks apart, and I would go up and get a cherry Coke at the soda fountain, Wayne told MLive/the Grand Rapids Press. I'd never had a cherry Coke before, and I'd go up just about every day and see her. Despite another soda fountain girl giving Wayne his Cokes for free, he only had eyes for Charmaine. Exactly 3 years after Wayne's military discharge date, the couple married at a small Methodist church in Grand Rapids. Charmaine, 20, wore a timeless satin and lace gown, and Wayne, 23, was in a smart suit and sporting a boutonniere. And then their adventures began. Over the years, Wayne and Charmaine traveled all over the country together, road tripping to the Gulf Shores, Arizona, New England, and more. And that's not to mention the adventure of raising 5 sons together. At an anniversary party at their middle son's home in Rockford on Monday, Wayne and Charmaine were surrounded by neighbors, friends, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, all there to celebrate their love story. We're blessed, Charmaine said, sitting on the couch next to Wayne. We're very blessed because there's not many of our friends who ever had a 75th anniversary. The couple said they've always taken their marriage seriously and were supported throughout with good families, siblings, and as many friends. They also made sure to never go to bed mad at each other and shared the division of labor. I don't know how we get along so well, but she tolerated a lot, Wayne said. Do everything together. It's a 50-50 proposition, and you establish that to begin with. In the Vickers household, Wayne took care of the yard and the car, while Charmaine took care of things inside the house. They took turns cooking meals like lasagna and stuffed cabbage, and Wayne made fresh homemade bread for the family. The Vickers made their home on Madison Avenue, near Brookside Elementary School. Once there were 5 rambunctious boys in the picture, the family moved out to a spot in Forest Hills. Charmaine worked as a telephone operator, then a YMCA receptionist, and Wayne was a salesman and then worked at a manufacturing company. Their sons, Doug, 71, Jim, 67, Steve, 66, Mark, 64, and Paul, 61, all came together to celebrate their parents' 75th anniversary at Steve's home, full of many of Wayne and Charmaine's 15 grandchildren and step-grandchildren and their half-dozen or so great-grandchildren. They complimented each other really well, and they still do, Steve Vickers said of his parents. They felt they were really well-suited. The backbone of a 75-year marriage, the couple says, is having similar interests. Along with traveling together, Wayne and Charmaine love animals, reading, their family, and being with friends. They also share a love of camping. I bought the biggest tent I could find at the time at Sears, Wayne said of their camping adventures. We did a lot of camping. Some travel adventures changed locations as the couple aged, according to Charmaine. Wayne never wanted to go to Florida because of all the old people. And now we're the old people, she said, laughing. That's pretty solid. Every trip they took, Wayne and Charmaine made sure to stop at the local zoo, since Charmaine's such an animal lover. The couple had many dogs over the years, but they've now got a cat named Smokey. Wayne said he adopted Smokey for Charmaine, but Charmaine insists that Wayne is Smokey's favorite. The cat cuddles Wayne every night while he reads. Kurt Mirandet, whose parents Al and Rosie were best friends with the Vickers, said he grew up with the Vickers' 5 sons, going camping together and doing Boy Scouts in the Vickers' basement. They were really good parents, Mirandet said of the Vickers. They kept us in line. Wayne and Char are just God-fearing good people. It's good for the soul to know marriage can last this long. Nowadays, the Vickers' adventures look a little different, but they're still taking them on together. Our big adventure now is getting up in the morning and having breakfast, Wayne said. We're all crying. Just beautiful tears. Charlie and Cassidy, thank you both so much for sending this in. And to Charmaine and Wayne Vickers, congratulations on 75 years of marriage. Cheers. And what did we have for that news quote? Never say no to adventure. At least we're all crying together. Well, that about does it. I thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nix News Facebook page or coming soon, the Nix News YouTube page. Again, we're live every other Sunday, and our next episode will be on June 23rd, 2024. I encourage participation, so if you feel inclined, you can post suggestions for news brews, for shout-outs, for quotes, and those good articles that you find that we can present on future episodes. If you want to submit anything, please send it to the Nix News Facebook page's messenger. That's what I look through to get the articles all set up for the future episodes or for the database that I've got to make. If possible, I do appreciate a variety of articles that are spread out across our 4 categories, and those categories, again, were science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and the wholesome notes, the real touchy articles we like to end on. Yeah. As always, thank you again. I love you all, and have a great night. And I'll play us out.